What if I told you that if you were willing to invest 1 extra hour a day into something, that would make the difference between having an okay day or a great day? But first, let's discuss a few imaginary scenarios where people did not make this investment. Take Joe, the basketball player. While driving to the basket in his championship game, he hurts his ankle and in turn has to go to the emergency room. Kelly, a waitress, is sluggish and miserable at work and is short with her customers. She in turn gets lousy tips for the rest of her shift. Mike, a full-time college student, gets a D on his final exam because he could not concentrate or remember what he had studied. What do these three people have in common? They lack sleep the previous night. If Joe, Kelly, and Mike had even had 1 extra hour of sleep that night, it is possible that their circumstances could have turned out differently. Today, I will be informing you about the benefits that sleep has on your overall health and well-being. Although underestimated in recent years, sleep is vital to the body both physically and mentally. So here's a background about sleep and its benefits on the physical body. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, when we are sleeping, our bodies are at rest and we are not conscious of our surroundings. Sleep consists of 4 cycles and can further be differentiated into non-REM sleep and REM sleep. Non-REM sleep, which comprises about 75 to 80% of sleep, is the body's low-level part of sleep, where we are motionless and we are more susceptible to waking. And REM sleep is the body's deep part of sleep that involves body movement and faster pulse and breathing. This is the dream part of sleep, and this is when the body begins to repair and restore itself. So that was a background about sleep. Let's get into its benefits on the physical body. First off, sleep boosts our attentiveness and helps us focus. Every stat that I give should be accredited to Matthew Walker. I watched a podcast by Joe Rogan where he interviewed Matthew Walker, a neuroscientist and a professor at the University of California, Berkeley, and he had a lot of great stats and input to say about sleep. And he goes on to say that going 20 hours without sleeping can leave you as impaired as if you were legally drunk. And in fact, drowsy driving leads to more car accidents than both alcohol and drugs combined. Every 30 seconds, there is a car accident related to sleeplessness. And this is due to the fact that we will fall asleep for a short time behind the wheel, and by the time we wake up, it's too late. When you are drunk driving, you are seriously impaired. But when you are drowsy driving, you are not conscious or aware of your surroundings at all. When it comes to the medical residency, these people have to work insane amount of hours, shifts up to 30 hours or more. And when they have these shifts of working 30 hours or more, they have a 168% increased risk of getting into a car accident if they drive home after their shift, which can lead them into the same exact emergency room they were just in, but now they are a patient. A school in Wyoming did a test where they changed their start times from 7:35 to 8:55 a.m., and in turn, the 16 to 18-year-old car accidents decreased by 70% that following year. So sleep boosts our attentiveness and helps us focus. And sleep also helps us enhance our physical performances. Sleep-deprived people have a 60% increased chance of getting an injury while doing a physical activity. Sleep also leads to physical exhaustion, lactic acid buildup, and having trouble breathing. On top of that, our vertical speed, our vertical jump, our running speed, and our physical strength are all affected negatively by an inadequate amount of sleep. According to Charlie Houlihan's article, Get Some Sleep, How Resting at Night Helps the Body, Brain, and Consciousness Recover, sleep could be the missing ingredient to our next beauty program or training routines. Sleep is known to significantly decrease the rate of obesity. When we are sleep deprived, there is a hormone called ghrelin, which is also known as the hunger hormone, and that is dramatically spiked during sleep. And this can cause the undersleeper to eat more than 70,000 calories of excess a year, which leads to about 10 to 15 pounds of extra fat, which are normally induced by these sugary, carb-filled foods that the sleep-deprived person gears towards. They're not going to go to vegetables, they're not going to go to fruits, they're going to go to carbs, they're going to go to sugar, and they're going to go to these fattening foods. Judith Newman explains in her article, Yes, It's Sleep, that skin can look better after a good night of sleep. Since our faces are immobile during the night and our face muscles are relaxed, this can help smooth any wrinkles out. And on top of that, the bags that we have under our eyes are lost after a good night of sleep. And sleep helps the body fight infections and reduce illness. Laura King's book, The Science of Psychology: An Appreciative View, states that sleep helps restore the body by increasing cell production, conserving energy, and enhancing various resources that it needs to overcome infection. Austin E. stresses in his article addressing sleep deprivation in college students that sleep-deprived college students are particularly susceptible to upper respiratory infections and headaches. The article, A Good Night's Sleep Boosts Your Healthy Diet and Lifestyle, maintains that good sleep contributes to healthier blood pressure and better cholesterol levels. And sleep also tackles more serious issues such as cancer, cardiovascular diseases, and strokes. A person who sleeps for 4 hours or less, even during one night, has a 70% decrease in anti-cancer cells. And it was just daylight savings time a few weeks ago, so here's a crazy stat about that. Losing an hour to daylight savings time in the spring causes a 24% increase in heart attacks that whole week after for America. And you might think that's a fluke, but conversely, gaining that hour in the fall leads to 21% decrease in heart attacks that whole week after. And many people say that I want to live my best life now and I'll sleep when I'm dead. But ultimately, Walker says that the shorter you sleep, that the less you sleep, the shorter your life. And not only the shorter your life, but the lower quality is your life, because you could be plagued by injuries and illnesses and all these things that are harmful to the physical body. And although sleep's effect on the physical body is so vitally important, what is it that drives the physical body in the first place? The brain and the nervous system. So here are some benefits that sleep has on both the brain and the nervous system. According to King, sleep plays a big role in solidifying memories and enhancing other mental processes. In fact, REM sleep, to build on what was previously discussed, ramps up the visual, motor, emotional, and memory parts of the brain by 30%. The brain also recollects memory 20 times faster when it is sleeping versus when it is awake. For example, a good night's sleep can increase your game by 20 to 30% in terms of skilled performance compared to right after the practice that you just had. I know that when I was doing basketball and when I was in acting groups and I had to perfect my body movements and I had to perfect my facial expressions and I had to memorize lines, that each day as I was polishing, I was getting better and better. And I think that sleeping had a big thing to do with getting that memory. And King asserts, and Professor K knows this for a fact, that grading papers, staying up, studying, and grading papers is a bad idea, because what is it that actually gives retention of memory? Sleep. And sleep also gives benefit when it comes to automation. Sleep will allow the body to find friction in a skill, and it will smooth it out during the night. This is why musicians play a song better after a good night of sleep. And speaking of musicians, sleep inspires creativity. Many people claim to have sleep-inspired insight. Paul McCartney and Mick Jagger in their songs Satisfaction and Let It Be both claim to have found them from a dream. Dmitri Mendeleev also had a dream about the periodic table of elements, and he started writing down exactly what was in his dream. Thomas Edison would write down exactly what he remembered from his sleep. He would wake himself up abruptly, and then he would immediately go from brain right to his paper. And sleep-deprived people will also slack off in group settings and produce fewer creative solutions. I know that when I am tired and exhausted, there's nothing I can do to help produce a creative solution because all I need is some extra rest. And sleep decreases the chance of having a mental illness or a neurological disease. King states that 1 hour less of sleep a night predicts higher instances of hopelessness, suicidal thoughts, and substance abuse. And Houlihan expresses that sufficient sleep lowers your depression and also lessens getting bipolar disorder. And sleep dramatically lessens your chance at getting Alzheimer's disease. People like Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, who seemed like juggernauts and they could live on 4 hours or less of sleep every single night up until they were like 80 years old, they increased their chances of getting Alzheimer's disease, and they eventually got the disease as well. So even the best of us are affected negatively by the dangers, mentally and physically, that lack of sleep will have. So in conclusion, we have seen that sleep is one of the most important investments that you can make on this earth. Studies show that 1 in 2 people do not get the recommended 8 hours of sleep at night. And on top of that, 1 out of 3 people are trying to survive on less than 6 hours of sleep a night. Let's take a look back again at the previous scenarios that we made in the first part of the speech. How could their situations have turned out differently if they had even had 1 hour of sleep? Joe could have been strengthened by sleep the previous night, causing his stability muscles to better support his ankle when he fell. Kelly could have felt rejuvenated by a good night of sleep, causing her to be pleasant and more attentive, leading to satisfied customers and better tips. If Mike did not cram all of his studying into the final night, he could have gotten a good night of sleep, and this could have helped him concentrate and remember and get a good grade. I'll leave this information in all of your hands, and hopefully this will lead to happy lives and long lives.